Houston, our instruments are showing that we have a incoming message from deep space. Repeat, Houston, we have an incoming message from deep space. Houston, we'll begin playing message now. Houston, we're going to try and translate that up here. Hold for translation. Translation complete. We'll begin playing message now.
Hey, it's me, Melissa.
What do you do when the aliens invade? Take a shot of MK Ultra and watch Melissa Jade. Put on your tinfoil hat and tune right in. We got that crime spree, flat earth theories, government conspiracies, a complex Mandela effects, unidentified optics, a mind expanding, fake moon landing, what it all bends understanding. It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa. Aliens is on the sun or in Area 51. Time travels, unravels, haunted castles, cops are baffled, potential experimental thoughts that make you transcendental. It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa. Crime sprees, flat earth theories, government conspiracies, complex Mandela effects, unidentified objects of mind expanding, fake moon landing, what it all bends understanding. It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa.
Hi, guys. Hey, Brigittes and Shiggles. Poor Linda, Kim, Kimberly, Marianne Morris, Boho Hobo. Oh, hey, Roro. Homer. We have Melanie. Oh, that's so funny. Hi, Daniel, Jennifer, Rhonda, Michelle, Amasoli. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. I'm sorry. Lead the Bee, Creative Minds. No, she does not. Shannon, hell yeah. Happy weekend. Hippie Chick. We Gobshite, Iris, Beach Lover. Curious Christine. Petunia. Lily by Starlight. Keith. I love Nancy Gray says, Jade Raid, Patreon J Ray. I love it. We're Jade Raiding over to my own place. I love it. Hi, Caleb. Yeah, Friday night pajama party. Hey, Edith. Welcome. Hi, guys. Chezzy. Amanda, Stephanie. Nope, not today. You take it. You take it. Hi, Sunshine Mafia. A finger flick Friday. Kinky. I like it. I'm going to have to probably object to that, though.
Any objection? All objections.
The people are like really nice. Like everybody knows my name.
Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name.
All right. Yeah, I wanted to see if you guys wanted to do a live to go over some of Wade Wilson's jail calls. You let me know. Hi, Crystal. I'm glad that you got it, but what about me? Hi, Cry Crochet. Okay. Okay. Oh, hell no. Hell no. But okay, I want some cheesecake. Feel free to DoorDash me some fucking cheesecake, just saying. No, but really, I hope that you enjoyed it. It is amazing. You guys do? All right, we could definitely go over Wade Wilson jail calls. I And the kiosk, please do. A lot of people have been telling me about how similar they are. I've been interested. I know that Jones, and I'll drop Jones's link. Joneson has been doing a really good job going over his calls too. Wonder what did I put my command in? Lemon cheesecake. Oh. Ooh. Hi, the Shiznits. Or did I put it in as Jones? Forgot what I put my command in. Hey, Becky P. Please be safe. There we go. Jones's channel here. Almond cheesecake actually sounds good. Hi, Wendy. He has a screen on her while he starts her shenanigans. I know. So yesterday we listened to Hi, Christopher. Yes. Oh wow, how crazy is that? Yeah, we could definitely do that. I like listening and reacting to things. But we had the crime scene investigator up on the stand yesterday, and we went through all those calls. Oh really, Crystal? Hi, Simply E. Oh, I love that hat. How cute is that? Hi, Lucy, Shannon. So we saw the crime scene investigator up. He was a very, very good witness. We went through a lot of the crime scene photos, and we saw the blue star illuminating. And so our next witness, I'm not sure who it is, but it'll probably be along those lines. Welcome, fucking Homer. Thanks for becoming a member again. You are no longer gray like Tisha's legs. Spank you very much.
Spank you very much.
Hi, Leanne. Hi, Queen of Hearts. Keith. Hi, Darlene. Banana pudding with vanilla wafers. No thanks, but if that's your vibe, go for it. All right. We got Evelyn Guerrero Trejo, been missing since October 23rd, 2022, out of Little Rock, Arizona. She is 7 years old, may be in the company of her mom, Tanya. She is 32 years old. So if you or anyone you know has information on their whereabouts, please contact the Little Rock Police Department at the number located in blue. Homer. Now, Homer gifted somebody a membership as well. You are no longer gray like Tisha's legs. Thank you so fucking much, Homer. Congratulations to the recipient.
Thank you. You love me. You really love me.
Woohoo! Thank you, Homer. Hey, Sherry GB. We got Caleb. Banana pudding and vanilla wafers are my dad's favorite. I make it for him when I visit. But do they get soggy? And I know the answer. So don't try to tease me right now. I don't want no soggy wafer. Thank you very much. Hi, Whippets and Whip-Bounds. Okay, you know what? You could all jam in the corner with your vanilla wafers and nanner pudding. We're going to shebang over here with Tisha at the moment, okay? Oh, that's okay. I mispronounce everyone's name, so the least you could do is misspell it. Hi, Manny. Yeah, mushy. I don't want no mushy shit. Okay. So I'm not sure who the next witness is, but, you know, we're just going with it. It's all right, poor Linda. It's still not feeling the best, but it's all right. Thank you for asking. Is it Arkansas, not Arizona? Okay, thank you, Lily. I'm not good with the abbreviations for the states. Unless it's very obvious, I do struggle sometimes which state it is. I make an amazing banana pudding and an even better eclair. Oh, don't tell me the good time. I could go for an eclair. Okay, so we are in the afternoon. And we should be getting a finger pop from Tisha. So let's just jump right into it. Hi, Jem. I'm going to try Perlinda. Thank you. Please correct. Don't feel bad ever correcting me. Please do. I appreciate it. You know, I know you're not doing it to be a dick versus if I get something wrong, correct it. I'd rather you tell me. That's how I found out I'm mispronouncing 95% of my chat's names. They know I'm not doing it to be an asshole versus I just struggle with pronunciation sometimes. Hi, Desiree. Bananas with wafers. I gagged. Yeah, I can't. Ooh, hi, Meg Pay. Oh, I love Coca-Cola slushies. Hi, Natasha. Listen, I'm an Italian New Yorker, Christopher, but I will say no to Italian cheesecake. New York cheesecake all the way. All the way. In the hood. Oh, that's so funny. Hi, Jules. Pop goes the finger. All right. Okay, you ready? So I'm not sure who's next. We will find out in a moment.
Thank you, Your Honor. We will call Stephanie Happ.
Ms. Hepp, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please. Please, ma'am.
DB, congratulations on your third month.
You swear affirm the testimony about to give in this man will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the
Miss
stand.
Ma'am.
Congratulations on your third month. It's awesome to have you here.
Mr. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
Good afternoon. Good. And you?
Good, thank you. Will you please introduce yourself to our jury and then spell your first and last name for our court reporter?
Yes, my name is Stephanie Happ, Happstefanie. I am the senior firearms examiner with the Colorado Springs Metro Crime Lab.
So what education do you have that allows you to do that job?
My education consists of a
right, I'm
bachelor's
gonna
of
jump
science
through
in chemistry with an emphasis in
protocol. Hi, Grandpa
criminalistics.
Mama.
I received that from the Metro.
I'm just jumping
My
through
initial
protocol.
firearms related analyses. I spent a large period of additional hours of research.
Expert.
Your Honor, based on her
Yeah, she's going to be an expert.
Talking about the firearm acting as the tool. And that firearm has a series of components, like the barrel, for example, that impart different markings on the surfaces of the fired ammunition components, like the cartridge cases and bullets. So the tool marks are produced by the firearm on the surface of the bullets and cartridge cases.
And then when we're talking about a cartridge or a bullet, tell the jury what we are talking about there.
I'd be happy to. Would it be all right to use the demonstrative piece?
Yes, did you bring your demonstrative? So yeah, go ahead and bring that. It's just a demonstrative of a bullet components.
Right.
We've seen these before. These
plastic demonstrative piece, it depicts rather a cartridge of ammunition in its unfired state. When a cartridge of ammunition is fired, the firing pin component of the firearm contacts this silver portion right here, the primer. The primer contains a shock-sensitive material that, when it's struck, ignites a powder charge that's located inside the body of the cartridge. As that powder charge burns, there's a very rapid buildup of gases, and it's those gases that are responsible for forcing the bullet down the barrel of the firearm and almost simultaneously forcing the action of the firearm open so that the cartridge case, or the empty piece after it's been fired, can be extracted and ejected or kicked out of the chamber of the firearm, readying the firearm to be loaded the next time. So the cartridge ends up in two pieces. We have a bullet or a projectile. Sometimes fragments or pieces of the bullet and projectile are recovered. And then we have the cartridge case.
And the way that you're describing using that particular demonstrative, is that for a semi-automatic firearm?
That general description would cover most firearms, but semi-automatic would fit in that.
And then as far as handguns go, tell the jury the difference between a revolver and a semi-automatic.
So with a semi-automatic handgun, and to be clear, when we're speaking in those terms, semi-automatic means one cartridge of ammunition is fired for each pull of the trigger.
You guys want me to jump through it? Hi, Lori. Do you guys want me to jump through it? Chill, you let me know.
With a semi-automatic firearm, the primary difference, other than the way it looks, but in terms of its function, is the cartridge case is extracted and ejected and often found left behind. Okay. With respect to a revolver, the cartridge...
From autopsy.
I did.
Your Honor, may I approach? Did you have a chance to look at that item?
I did not evaluate this specific item.
You should. Those fingers down.
Those little plastic red tips, do you recognize what those are?
They appear to be consistent with the polymer plugs that are incorporated into various hollow point designs of bullets.
Did you send over some pictures to give us an example so that the jury
Girl.
understands what we're talking about, the polymer plugs?
I did.
And, at this time I'd ask for permission.
Okay.
Just please describe what we're talking about there.
Sure. This is an actual live cartridge of Hornady ammunition. You'll see the projectile or the bullet is the copper colored portion sticking out at this side here. The cartridge case is the silver or nickel colored portion on this side here. You can see in this profile picture, the nose of the bullet located right here has a material that's placed inside. This particular
I'm gonna
type of
jump
bullet
to,
is
like,
referred to
when
as a
she's
hollow
showing
point
the
bullet.
photos,
It's a
okay,
bullet
guys?
designed to expand when it comes.
Didn't want to
Came through something that again, like he was.
So you've got presenter mode. So you need to slide that back over to our side.
I'm Chezzy. I'm not trying to jump to anything important versus the meat. I want to see just the meat and potatoes of things. Hi, unsupervised maniacs. Oh, you go, girl.
Yeah.
You run your little heart out. Wow. Look at that.
We'll just
Look at that.
work through this. So we've got 6. Go back, please. There we go. So the main picture in the center of the screen, my eyes are getting bad, so I can't read the exhibit number when it's smaller like that. Does that say 680?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So tell the jury what we're looking at in People's Exhibit 680.
So People's Exhibit 680 is a photograph of one of the bullets that I received for comparison purposes to me.
Are you guys telling me to back it up? Oh, shit. Wait, what? A double birdie? Where?
I didn't want to.
The reason they're turning the
Anything
screen
else
off
appear?
between this is because they're scrolling through exhibits numerically, and not all of them have been admitted yet, and they don't want to show something
got
that hasn't been
Tisha
admitted
here.
yet. So they say, please turn off the screen while I scroll to the right number and then turn it back on again. Charlene, thank you. 9mm. So sadly, it sounds like he was killed with his dad's gun.
Which, you know what? It's so horrific. She left that gun positioned on the photo in front of the photo of Gannon. She used the gun that Landon gave to Al. This is such an evil on a deep level. It's something I've never seen before. When he puts her back in the square. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Because I know Judge Werner will address it tomorrow morning, if that makes sense.
A hollow point. If I can get this to work here. Oh, we're gonna see pictures. We'll talk about this later.
So I have to go more back. You're talking about before this?
Thank you, Your Honor. We will call Stephanie.
Awesome.
Good, thank you.
AE
So what education do you have that?
in chemistry, Denver. I did so. But
Watching
understand
Tisha.
examination. And then I was at like an of things I criminalistics reconstruction. That year's had over 1,000 hours of training on
Easiest question I've ever.
federal courts.
So when you say code, based on as an expert.
Nice
Go
CV.
ahead.
So let's
Look at
get
her
some
smirking.
groundwork stuff out of the way, just so that we're all talking the same language. You mentioned tool marks. Tell the jury what we mean when we talk about tool marks as it relates to firearms.
Well, then I'm nowhere near
Fit in the same
215,
cases.
Tell the jury what we are
but I was
talking
told
about
I
there.
missed it.
I'd be happy to. Would it be all right to use
Where these can be.
plastic, the firing pin primer, that's very rapid.
Okay,
outcome,
this
that
is
did-
where
the
I
car
was
bullet-
jumping.
Same line.
automatic.
I'm going to start out by showing you People's 89 that was previously admitted by Ellie Smith, a crime scene technician from Florida. Did you have a chance to look at that item?
I did not evaluate this specific item.
Okay. Those little plastic red tips, do you recognize what those are?
They appear to be consistent with the polymer plugs that are incorporated into various hollow point designs of bullets.
Did you send over some pictures to give us an example so that the jury understands what we're talking about, the polymer plugs?
I did.
And, at this time I'd ask for permission to publish 2 demonstrative photos of Hornady rounds of ammunition that show that polymer plug.
Has the defense seen these?
Yes, they have. And
Is there an objection?
No.
All right. Go ahead.
Stephanie,
My thought would be that we go with her until like 4 o'clock, then take about another 10-minute recess or so, something like that. Otherwise, they're going to be sitting there for like 2.5 hours. So,
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Okay. We've
I'm
got
looking,
a little bit of
guys.
big sound.
Oh, come
Sorry.
on.
I think it's this one right here.
Response.
Well, in the collection.
No, see, this is making me go back
And in your
all the way to
relying
this
on
witness.
collect evidence.
Correct. There is a place provided information is to help scope down our search, and which can also help with identifying items of evidence.
Okay. And so based on a briefing that you had received, did that particular item become of evidentiary interest in the investigation?
This is 1 hour
It
and
did,
30
with
minutes.
there being possible bloodstains on it.
Thank you. Your Honor, we'll pass the witness.
I'm at 1 hour, 30 minutes.
Hey, sir, how you doing?
I'm doing great today. How
I'm
are you?
confused. You
I'm
guys
not
said
doing
I
bad.
missed it. And
Just
I
go
didn't,
to that, what we were just talking about, that.
how did I? You guys are giving me crazy timestamps. I only did like 5 minutes so far. When did I miss it? Hey, me, assistant mom. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Hold on. Thank you, Lori, for being a member for 26 months. And thank you, Meat Feeds, for 27 months. That's amazing. Thank you, guys. I see a couple people saying 1 hour 30, 1 hour 38. I've done that. Now I'm seeing 2:55. I'm getting very confused. 1:30 on my stream. But how is it 2:56 when I didn't get to 2 hours and 56 minutes yet? We just started this witness. I was just playing
This is
her.
a photo looking down at that same cartridge. So now instead of looking at it like this, you're looking at it from this way. And it's just capturing an example of what that polymer plug that some ammunition companies utilize. That polymer plug is designed to prevent that hollow point cavity from filling up with other materials, preventing the expansion.
All right. I'm only at 1 hour, 55 minutes on Recovery Addict. So I'm an hour behind where we are. Yeah, Cat Mom, I'm just going to go with this.
Expansion of that bullet comes when it comes into contact with tissue.
And then the item that I put on the, that I just handed you, People's Exhibit 89, those plastic red tips, is that consistent with what we're looking at in this demonstrative exhibit that would prevent the round from being plugged as it's fired through something?
Yes, they do appear to be consistent with that.
Okay. I'm going to retrieve that.
Okay.
Job as a firearms examiner, were you asked to examine some firearms in this particular case?
I was.
What exactly were you asked to examine for this case?
I was asked to look at 3 different firearms, complete mechanical functioning examinations on those firearms. So an examination to determine whether or not they work and whether or not they work the way the manufacturer intended. And then to evaluate those firearms for comparison to recovered bullets.
So tell the jury which types of firearms you were asked to examine.
The first firearm that I have listed was a FMK Model 9 C1G2 9mm pistol.
Oh, I'm skipping
The second firearm, and
protocol,
this is really
cutie
in no
pie. I don't
particular
care
order.
that much.
The second firearm was a Smith & Wesson
take hours
M&P
if I
Bodyguard caliber .380 auto pistol. And the third pistol was a Smith & Wesson M&P 9C 9mm Luger pistol.
So when we're talking about those 3 different firearms, are 2 of those 9mm and then one's a .380 caliber?
That's correct.
Tell the jury the difference between 9mm and .380.
The
I really want to know.
Did you have a chance to look at those items?
yes, I did.
Is that the same as what you just described as the Smith & Wesson M&P? I'm sorry, not the Smith & Wesson M&P, the Smith & Wesson model M&P 9C 9mm?
Yes, it is.
Is that one of the, so that's one of the weapons that you tested?
It is.
What did you determine as it relates to whether that was a
Thank you,
functioning
Mario.
firearm?
I was able to determine that this was an operable firearm capable of causing serious injury or death, and I did not note any abnormalities in its function.
Okay. So when you test that, do you actually test fire that weapon?
Yes, I do.
Or may I approach with people 713?
I recognize it from the label that I created when I created these items,
Okay,
as
Michelle,
well as
thank
my
you.
dates and initials on the seal.
Is it in the same or substantially the same condition?
Yeah, I just skipped this part because they're moving.
So when you do a
to
test
minute.
fire, what do you do? How do you do that to compare maybe rounds or projectiles that are found in an investigation to what you're test firing?
Once I have documented all of the identifying characteristics of the firearm, like the make, the model, the serial number, and the caliber of ammunition it's designed to fire, the final step in confirming function is to load that with the appropriate caliber ammunition and actually fire it.
Okay. And then once you have an expelled round from your test fires, what do you do with that expelled round?
I recover those cartridge cases and the bullets. The bullets are fired into a giant steel tank full of water. That water serves to slow those bullets down gently and without imparting any additional markings or details on the surface of those bullets. So when I recover them from the water and I look at them, I know that any marks produced on the surface of those bullets are solely produced from the barrel of the firearm that I just fired them through. I recover those bullets from the water tank as well as the cartridge cases, and those now become an item of evidence in the case.
And is that what we have in 713?
It is both the test fired bullets, the test fired cartridge cases, and a silicone cast of this barrel.
So tell us about a silicone cast of the barrel. What does that mean?
The barrel of firearms, when we do comparison and evaluation, has to be looked at for the types of markings that are present inside the barrel, the types of tool markings that were produced when it was manufactured. It's those different markings inside the barrel that are then transferred to the surfaces of the bullet when it's pushed through the barrel of the firearm. And it forms more or less a signature of a particular firearm.
Interesting.
I cast the barrel of these firearms after I complete my test firing so that I can evaluate those markings and determine if they're going to be suitable for comparison and identification purposes.
Does this process allow you to potentially compare a projectile that kills somebody to your test fire to see if the gun that you test fired is the same gun that was used to kill the person?
It certainly could be done for that purpose. It's also very often done for the purpose of eliminating a gun as a possibility.
So let's talk about eliminating. You mentioned those other two firearms that you tested, that 380 caliber handgun, the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard, and then the FMK Model
Tisha's
9s.
getting
Were they
bored.
functional weapons?
Excuse me. Yes, they did operate as they were intended.
And were those capable of causing serious bodily injury or death?
They were.
Did you test or compare the test fired rounds from those two guns to projectiles that were recovered in this investigation?
I did perform that evaluation.
Were you able to determine whether those were used to fire those projectiles, or did you eliminate those weapons from being used in this case?
I was able to eliminate both of those firearms as potential sources of those bullets.
Okay, I'm going to approach and show you people's exhibits 103 and 88.
Okay.
I don't know if you
Wait, let me
the
see.
proceedings or not. No, I'm not sure what the rule is for her.
No. Tisha.
I want to start with people's number 103, which was previously admitted by crime scene technician Kelly Smith from Florida, two projectiles that were recovered from a pillow.
Okay.
Had you had a chance to look at those two items?
I did.
Were you able to compare your test fire rounds from this particular firearm sitting up there with you today to those particular projectiles?
I was.
What does that analysis tell us?
In this particular instance, I was able to conclude that one of the bullets in People's Exhibit 103 was fired in the Smith & Wesson pistol, 9mm pistol, People's Exhibit 484. The other bullet had similar general characteristics, but due to the damaged condition of that particular bullet, I was not able to make a conclusive identification in that instance.
So let's talk about that just a little bit. If like you described there, that damage, What can cause damage to a projectile that would make it difficult for you to conclude that it came from the same weapon?
The first issue to contend with is any of the target surfaces that bullet travels through. So anything it travels through has the ability to impart additional damage to the surfaces that may obliterate the markings that were left behind by the firearm. In this particular instance, the extended period of exposure to biological substances also left significant damage in the form of corrosion, if you will, on the surfaces of these bullets. And in this case, the first projectile that I discussed, I was able to clean up well enough to be able to still visualize the tool marks from the barrel. In the second circumstance, it just simply was no longer in suitable condition.
Okay, and then when we talk about People's Exhibit 88, which was previously admitted again by crime scene technician Kelly Smith from Florida, projectile recovered at autopsy. Did you have a chance to look at that item?
I did.
What did your analysis of that item tell you?
I was able to conclude that bullet was also fired in the Smith & Wesson pistol, People's Exhibit 484.
Meaning that the pistol that's in the box in front of you was fired and struck Gannon and was recovered in Gannon's autopsy.
That bullet was fired through that pistol, yes.
Okay. We also have some photographs.
Just trailed off there. Let's see what else he's got. I think he's showing them. I'll do a little explanation on the hollow points here in just a minute. See if I can show you some examples.
I can assist you. Matt, are you looking for any of these up here?
There's evidence all over the courtroom. There's like piles and piles of it. I'm doing good. Thank you, Diana.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, sir.
Are you looking for that stack there?
Oh.
Okay.
So those were previously admitted.
Mrs. Saber, it sounds like the gun they found on the dresser, the Smith & Wesson, I believe 9mm. Is that was my understanding? Was that the 9mm or was that the 30 or the 380? They're very similar calibers. 380 is a little bit smaller and lower power.
People's Exhibit 680, 681, and 682.
This is what we're going to be seeing.
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize them?
These are photographs that I took using the comparison microscope when I was making the comparisons of the evidence bullets to the test fired bullets from the Smith & Wesson pistol.
Will these exhibits help explain the way that you do your examination
Here,
of
you
your test fired
snot
rounds to the
rocket.
known rounds or the rounds recovered in this case?
They do.
Are they fair and accurate representations as to what you saw when you performed your analysis?
Yes, they are.
I'd move for admission of People's Exhibit 680, 681, and 682.
Mr. Cook? Exhibit 680, 81, and 82.
He has
will be
no
admitted. Go ahead.
self-control.
In permission to publish?
You may.
About to get the picture here.
I think you just turned the screen off, Judge.
I did.
Okay.
Let me know when you're there. I didn't want to.
The reason they're turning the screen off between this is because they're scrolling through.
She thought she has no
numerically,
self-control.
and not all of them have been
Look
admitted
at
yet. They
her.
don't want to show something that hasn't been admitted yet. So they say, please turn off the screen while I scroll to the right number and then turn it back on.
Hey, I'm just going to casually flip my middle finger.
Charlene,
Nobody's going
thank
to
you.
know.
9mm. So sadly, it sounds like he was killed.
The tar side.
Okay, we already were just
Like that, does it-
discussing this.
Photograph it compares. So when I mount items on those stages and look through the eyepieces, I can see both of those items simultaneously side by side. And I can increase the magnification at varying
Yeah, she
levels
does it
as I work
numerous
through the
times.
analysis
PewDiePie, yeah.
to look at those different tool marks that are present. In this instance, what you're looking at here is the hollow point bullet expanded. So when we talked about the mushrooming effect, that's what you see here. This is the nose that opened up. and this is the base of the bullet here. And in this photograph, it's just documenting the overall condition of the projectile, as well as one of the land impressions that I evaluated.
What is, just so we understand it, what's that opaque blob in the front of the bullet?
This material right here is just a sticky wax substance that I use to hold the bullet in place so that I can turn it and rotate it on the microscope as I work through all the different surfaces.
In this particular exhibit 680, can you point out some of the tool marks that we talked about earlier on this particular item?
I can. So in this particular area right here, this thing that looks like tracks right in the center, that's what's known as a land impression. The area above it right here and the area below it right here is what's known as a groove impression. It's a twist to travel in the surface.
I just really want to hear what
are
happened.
impressed then onto the surface of.
We can move on to 681. What are we looking at in 681?
681 depicts only one photograph of many that were taken during the comparison process. And what you see here is item that was known to me as item 727. So one of the evidence bullets. There's a black line that runs down the center here separating the two images. And on the left-hand side is a portion of the test fired bullet that I generated using the Smith & Wesson pistol, People's Exhibit 484. And what I'm capturing in this photograph is the overall size dimension correspondence, as well as an area of detail that I'm interested in right in through here. And then there was some additional detail in through here.
When you say the item that you understood as number 727, what specifically, for your purposes, is item 727?
727 was the bullet that was recovered from the victim.
82.
Higher magnification.
I'm just going to jump through this. So
Autopsy. Okay.
I'm not really going to get
You can go ahead and take the photos down. Using when this particular type of firearm is fired, just explain the mechanism and what happens with a shell casing.
Where were her shell casings? Where'd she put them?
So I'll first point out that People's Exhibit 40 is secured not only into the box, but it has a gun lock running through the action of the firearm. So in its current state, I can see the chamber is open, there's no ammunition present, and it is completely safe. It could not be fired in this condition. So what you're looking at is a pistol that is not fully open or closed. When this firearm is loaded for use, the magazine is inserted into the grip located right here. It's the piece that the lock is running through. The slide, which is this top portion up here, is pulled to the rearward position and allowed to move forward again. And when that occurs, the slide pushes a cartridge of ammunition from the top of the magazine into the chamber of the firearm, or this rearmost portion of the barrel. That action also cocks this firearm and
She's
it's
in
ready
general
for firing.
top, Michelle.
To actuate firing, the operator would pull the trigger of the firearm and that would send the firing pin into the primer component. So sorry.
Oh, I'm not.
Into the primer component.
I'm not looking specifically for the middle finger, so I'm not going to jump unless people just want me to jump through this witness. Like if we see the finger, you know, she does it multiple times, but I'm not like trying to just jump to that spot. You know what I mean? But if you guys want me to jump through some of this witness, because we don't need all the specifics, just let me know.
And detonate that primer component so that firing can occur. The bullet will travel down the barrel of the firearm.
Interesting.
Which action or the slide will be forced rearward so that that cartridge case can be extracted and ejected, and the next round can be placed in the chamber of the pistol.
So when that particular type of
cartridge case. And handedness, as far as shooters go, is one element to consider with respect to whether or not they want it ejecting to the right or left. But the other factor to consider is whether they're using their right or their left eye predominant.
Analysis or any type of work like that.
It was most certainly collected by me when I evaluated the bullets. I preserved that evidence in case additional testing was warranted on them. I am not aware if any further testing was undertaken after I collected it.
Okay, but you felt it was important enough to at least collect it and preserve it.
Certainly important to preserve it, especially considering that my handling would have obstructed it and destroyed it during my process. So it was important to preserve that in case it became necessary for testing down the line.
Okay.
I think they might be done here.
That's all I have. Thank you. Redirect.
Okay, redirect.
Ms. Happ, when you were talking about shell casings ejecting out of the right or left, would you say that, well, you tell us, are most guns manufactured to kick to the right?
Shut
The
up,
large
Tisha.
majority are manufactured with a right-hand ejection, yes.
Does it require some special hunting to find a gun that will kick off to the left?
Sometimes special hunting, there are a few manufacturers if you want your firearm in that configuration that you might seek out specifically, or you can consider purchasing a different slide for that firearm to allow that function.
In your opinion, as an expert, is it common for a weapon like this that the shell casings kick to the right can be handled equally as effectively by either a right or left-handed person?
Yes, it can.
Or a right eye or left eye dominant person?
It can.
Were you aware that the shell casings recovered from that pillow were in a suitcase with a decomposing body?
I became aware of that later, yes.
Could that have been contributing to some of the biological substances that you found on those two those two projectiles?
That certainly contributed to some of it, yes.
And then as it relates to other types of scientific testing, is it very common or not very common to find fingerprints on bullets?
On fired bullets?
Yeah.
It would be very uncommon to find that after a bullet passes through the barrel. Theoretically, the way that would work is the fingerprint would be deposited before it was fired. Then that bullet is going to pass down the barrel of the firearm. And as that happens, the action of the bullet rubbing in the inside of the barrel would obliterate the fingerprint. Further, if anything should sustain the firing process, as it goes into that target surface, again, that bullet will be wiped clean of whatever was present on it fingerprint-wise.
What about on shell casings?
On shell casings, there's a greater likelihood that fingerprints can be recovered on shell casings. One, because this casing doesn't go through anything after it's been fired. However, there are elements of contact with the cartridge case and the body of the cartridge case inside the chamber of the firearm that may obliterate that. There's also a heat buildup that occurs when firing happens that may affect the cartridge case as well. So typically when we're successful with recovering fingerprints on fired cartridge cases, it's because they've been picked up afterwards and moved.
What about, can you find fingerprints on shell casings that are never found in an investigation?
No, that would be a definite no.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Do any of the jurors have any questions? Pass it forward and
can't indent the balls from
connected to the right of the fire.
Marks on it.
Ms. Happ, did any of the three pistols you examined eject from the left?
They did not. All three of these ejected to the right of the firearm.
I'm going to ask this question. Let me know if you think it's outside your area of expertise. If someone is left eye dominant and a shell ejects across your field of vision, would that cause someone to miss?
No.
So in that regard, I would say there's a couple things to consider. The first thing is that first shot that's fired, nothing will be obstructing your vision. We would be talking about subsequent shot fired after that. And we would be talking about subsequent shots fired in rapid succession, meaning not a shot. That cartridge case ejection is quick. So the shot is fired, the cartridge case ejects and falls, often much faster than the shooter can recognize. Where that becomes a more serious consideration is firing of multiple cartridges where those shells are constantly running in front of the shooter's field of vision. I
disagree with this woman.
I hope that covers it.
I will reasonable follow-up as to those questions only. Prosecution?
Are there a lot of factors that can go into accuracy of a shooter?
Oh, absolutely.
Can you list off some of those?
The firearm is one. Whether or not that shooter is practiced is a primary. It's probably the biggest.
Can left eye dominant shooters with a gun that kicks off to the right be very accurate in their shots?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Cook?
Okay.
You may step down. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next
I'm clean up the
witness.
witness stand, Judge, before the next witness.
All right.
We'll give them a minute here. I was going to say that in a 9mm, the round, at 3 miles, nothing down range of the gun, it can travel for 3 miles.
Yesha, I see your fingers dancing.
You're talking over 15,000 or 16,000 travel. That's
thanks, Judge. We'd call Brooke Bell to the stand.
Brooke Bell.
So it is surprising that the bullet stayed in the pillow. She did say there was a hard impact damage to those 2 bullets that were found in the pillow. So there may have been something on top of the pillow before she fired, which would also contribute to whether or not they hit the target. And she
Ms.
fired
Bell,
3
if you would
rounds.
step forward and raise your right hand, please, ma'am.
Is this a carpet expert?
Do
The
you swear
fire?
affirm the testimony about to give this matter
I
will be the truth,
remember
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand.
I
Please
think
watch your
she's the
step as you
fire
step into the
expert.
stand.
Please let it be the fire expert.
Young?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Brooke Bell, and my last name is spelled Bell.
What's your occupation?
I am a senior crime scene investigator with the Colorado Springs Metro
Maybe
Crime Lab.
not.
And how long have you been a senior crime scene investigator?
I've been a crime scene investigator since July of 2017, so almost 6 years.
How'd you become a senior crime scene investigator?
So the senior position requires a minimum of at least 5 years of experience. It requires a crime scene certification in one of 3 levels through the International Association for
Mandy.
Identification. And it also requires a certain number of training hours towards specializing in an
You
additional
did, Nancy?
forensic discipline.
Oh, how funny
So
is that?
other than your experience, do you also have training and educational experience with regards to your occupation?
I do. In terms of education, I graduated magna cum laude with a Bachelor of Arts degree in biology
Oh,
and a Master of Science degree in forensic science, both from the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs. And in terms of training, I did participate in an internal training program through the Metro Crime Lab. I was on call 24/7 for a period of 6 months. So a lot of exposure to various types of crime scenes and documentation techniques during that time. I was required to complete relevant readings until it was, so it also had the received training, documentation, enhancement of blood,
look at
photography,
Keisha smirking.
latent print processing.
And have you been qualified to give expert testimony as a crime scene investigator in El Paso County?
Yes, I have.
Any other jurisdictions?
I have also testified as an expert witness in federal court.
Approximately how many times have you been qualified?
I've testified 34 times and been qualified as an expert 22 times.
At this time, we'd ask that the court allow Ms. Bell to testify as an expert in the field of crime scene investigation.
Defense? No objection. The witness will be so qualified. Go ahead.
Tell us about crime scene investigation. What does that mean? I mean, we've seen CSI on TV. Is that the kind of thing we're talking about? And then we'll talk about whether or not that actually happens once we get into your testimony.
So as a crime scene investigator, my primary responsibility is to document and process crime scenes. And ultimately, I'm responsible for the identification, collection, and preservation of the evidence for any type of future testing and to assist with investigative leads. It certainly may look very different than what you see on TV and typically takes a lot longer.
So you just can't walk in a room and then all of a sudden know exactly what happens in that room?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay. As part of as a crime scene investigator, do you attend meetings with detectives and police officers and other members of a particular investigation to get an idea of what you're looking for when you go to a crime scene?
So the most common situation is the information we receive is what we refer to as a briefing. So we just receive preliminary information that detectives or the sergeants, law enforcement personnel have regarding the case up to the point that we become involved with the case.
And I would imagine that it's beneficial to have some idea of what you're going to when you go to a crime scene before you start that investigation. Is that fair?
That is the most common situation. We tend to have an idea of what type of investigation or what type of crime has occurred when we respond. That is not always the case, though.
I'm going to talk about this case and this investigation. On January 29th of 2020, were you asked to go to 6727?
6627, I believe.
6627. You think I'd had memorized by now, but 6627 Mandan Drive to search a residence.
Yes, I was.
What kind of information did you have prior to that and prior to that search on January 29th, 2020?
So the initial information that I received prior to responding to the residence was that an 11-year-old child had gone missing 2 days prior to my request to respond and document or search the residence where he lived.
And the only information I was provided at that time was that the investigators had reason to believe that he may be the victim of a homicide. I didn't receive any additional information until I responded to the residents, where I received that case briefing that I mentioned previously. And that was just kind of more of a timeline of events in terms of what the detectives knew up to that point.
And what was that? What was the briefing that you received when you arrived at the residence?
So I responded, it was Wednesday, January 29th. So at that point, the 11-year-old child who was identified to me as Gannon Stauch had been missing for 2 days. I had received information that he had reportedly gone to a friend's house and didn't return home and was reported missing that Monday around 7 p.m. and that sheriffs with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office had responded around 10 p.m. that evening. I was also informed that the following day, so Tuesday the 28th, the Sheriff's Office had sent investigative personnel to do a search of the residence. Part of the information that they had and that they passed on to me was that an incident, as it was called, had occurred on the 26th, in which Gannon was playing video games in the basement living room. And a candle was knocked over, damaged the carpet and a couch in the basement. They had informed me there was a section of carpet down in the basement that had been burned and cut away down to the padding.
What's up?
And so that it was suspicious in nature. It had been covered with carpet and an area rug.
Did you receive any information about a potential sexual assault or kidnapping on the 29th of January?
So I did a little bit further once I'd been on scene for a little bit longer. I believe it was possibly during our walkthrough. The information that they provided to me was that Gannon's stepmother, who was identified to me as Letecia Stauch, had contacted an individual about the carpet repair, and that individual came to the house and she was sexually assaulted in Gannon's bedroom, and that Gannon had been kidnapped.
Wow.
And so did that change at least your game plan on how you're going to process that crime scene based on this new information that comes in?
So with the information I had on this very first response, the areas that I'm focused on is the downstairs living room, where this area of carpet has been burned down to the padding, or basically down to the subfloor, which is unusual and had been cut out and removed. And then with this possible sexual assault information, so that was some new information, and having a location that told me that I was going to search for evidence that might be potentially related to that in that bedroom.
And so what kind of evidence would you be looking for based on that?
So when we're in the case of a sexual assault, we use what's called an alternate light source and filtered goggles. And so we actually will check the room for possible biological fluids. Certain biological fluids will fluoresce or glow under ALS. And those tend to be biological fluids such as urine, saliva, and then semen. So in the case of a sexual assault, we're using that so that we can try and identify potentially semen.
Had you learned that the residents had at least initially been searched the night before on January 28th, 2020 by some El Paso County detectives?
Yes, I had been informed that they had conducted a separate search prior to the involvement of the Metro Crime Lab, and that there were some evidence items collected during that search.
And so were you at least the first time a CSI lab personnel entered the residence to conduct the search?
Yes, so I was one of the first responding CSIs.
And Your Honor, just to kind of speed things up a little bit, there's going to be no objections to the following exhibits.
Okay.
373.
Okay. All right, then exhibits admitted.
Mostly photographs, but also physical exhibits, Your Honor. And we'll, as we go through the photographs, we'll get the physical exhibits.
Okay.
If we could start with People's Exhibit 373, please. Publishing.
Yep.
And if I may approach your witness.
You may.
Ms. Bell, I'll give you the pictures and you can either use the pictures to look at or
thank you.
TV screens that we have. And then you got a fancy corner.
She's so smart.
Yeah, we're going to go full screen on this.
So what do we
Leticia's gonna
see
do
in
what
People's
she
Exhibit
does already.
373?
Let's see.
People's Exhibit 373 is a photograph that was taken of the exterior of Mandan Street. If we're looking to the left side of the photograph, we can actually see the Metro Crime Lab van, which was parked in front of 6627.
So what direction are we facing here with this photograph?
We are mostly looking east, slightly southeast.
And so could you use the pointer and point out 6627 Mandan?
Hey, no problems.
May I stand, Your Honor?
You may go ahead.
6627 would be this residence.
Okay,
The
we
first
know
house that we
this.
see on the right photograph, is that 6643 Mandan?
Back scratcher.
I wouldn't be able to tell from a photograph in terms of reading the address.
Okay. If we can go to 674 now. What do we see in 674? 374. I'm all over the place. 374.
I do.
So People's Exhibit 374 is a direct photograph of the front of the residence 6627. And we can see that bright yellow chair that I had previously mentioned.
Those
We go
bright yellow
375
chairs.
now.
They look good in the
What are
yard.
we looking at
not
375?
front.
People's Exhibit 375, and I don't recall just from seeing this image if this is, I believe it's from immediately inside the entry. So if we walked in the door,
Exactly, Jackie.
that it would be one of the walls on the side.
Would this be the laundry room area?
It's possible. I can't really tell from seeing the rest of it, but it's possible.
There's a washing machine to the right.
If you look to the right-hand corner, top corner, would that be the entry to the garage?
Yes, it would be. So with that being said, then this would be the entry into the house through the garage, which was first the laundry room.
We can go to 376 now, please. What do we see in 376?
So People's Exhibit 376 is, and I don't know if this is the washer or the dryer, but in the bottom of the photograph, we see the red. And there were a pair of tennis shoes. So they're black with white soles turned over on top. And part of my walkthrough and briefing information I had received was that when the sheriff's deputies responded on the 28th, they had observed possible stains on the bottom of these shoes and had collected swabs of those stains.
And did you say that was done on the previous night, January 28th?
That's correct. So when I mentioned they had collected some evidence on that first response, that was one of those items.
377, please. Is this a close-up of the same shoes?
Yes, it is.
And then, Your Honor, 378 are the actual shoes. And just for the jury's benefit, we're going to be opening those with
little
another
red.
witness.
Oh, I like your new
So we're not going to be
picture.
opening those at this time.
All right.
We can go to 379 now. What do we see in People's Exhibit 379?
So People's Exhibit 379 is a photograph inside the garage. And if we look in the upper left-hand corner, we can actually see the door that's open, and that's what opens into the laundry room.
Now, on January 29th, were you looking for blood in this particular garage?
Not initially. However, it was brought to our attention when a deputy had responded that while we were working on documentation in the basement, that he had located some stains that he believed to be possible blood stains.
We can go to 380 now, please. What do we see in People's Exhibit 380?
People's Exhibit 380, we've actually moved further into the garage, so now we're closer to the entry door. And there are actually 3 sticker scales present in this photograph that were placed to identify those possible blood stains that were located by the deputy.
Could you please point those out for the
I
jury?
will, yes.
And Mr. Young, could you find a reasonable breaking point in the next 5 minutes or so?
We could stop now if you like, Judge.
Okay.
Whatever you're.
You can go ahead and answer that question, and then we'll take that
Okay.
break.
Up. Okay, so she already did it. Look.
The flip off moment. Actually right here. This is
Double flip.
this is what people are saying when she just flipped people off. That looks pretty deliberate with all the other fingers retracted and the middle up. I don't know. What's your take? Should we do a poll? Was that on the vote?
Oh yeah, that's exactly what she did, and she does it again. And again.
That would go completely against an insanity defense.
Yeah.
Send her back, and you can make a decision as to whether any name as she was alerted. 5-8 People versus Letecia Stauch record should reflect the jury's not present in the courtroom. I want to alert the attorneys to a juror issue. And we can either discuss it now, or we can discuss it at the end of the day. I don't know what you want to do. All I know is that a juror has alerted me that it wasn't until Ms. Happ was on the stand that she realized she knew her. She did not recognize the name as she was looking through the witness list. So I don't know anything about how she knows her or anything like that. My thought was I would bring her in, ask her a couple of questions, and then send her back, and you can make a decision as to whether or not want to make a challenge, or we go from there. We can either do that before this witness
defense is going to
challenge her testimony. We can wait until we get closer to the end of the day. What do you want to do?
I think it'd be good to do that towards the end of the day, Judge. Maybe save a little bit of time at the end of the day to handle.
That's fine. All right. So let's stop at like 10 till. Stop your questioning there, and then we will bring that juror in, and we'll go from there. Does that work for?
Defense is going to jump on this. This is the only thing.
Juror
they
12, third one over in the front. Yeah, well, she's in seat 13, but she's juror 12 because we only have 9 in the back. So, okay.
Okay, so that's going to be interesting to go into. We know.
Let's bring the jurors in then.
Look at her
the defense
smirking.
has already complained about the jury.
Does
they
this
think
mean
the
it's
jury is
something
not
good for
fair.
me?
They've asked for
Can I
the
get out
jury
of
to be
this?
removed and just have a bench trial with the judge deciding. So they're not just going to roll over and say, "Oh, it's fine," and let this one go. This is going to be more evidence that further proof, Your Honor. We said it at the beginning, and we're going to say it again. Clearly, we're not getting a fair trial here with this jury. So that they're going to say this is a problem and probably have her removed or protest to have her removed. They want to have the jury get down to no more alternates and then have one more removed and declare a mistrial. I mean, that's all they can do.
Ew.
It probably will be streamed, Rachel. I believe it will be streamed.
All right, to the jury, please.
Tiana.
So at the end of the day, they're going to ask that juror to stay, and they'll probably do a quick questioning. We won't see that juror on camera clearly, and we should not hear her name.
Judge Werner will address her tomorrow because it went viral on the internet.
The judge will say his name. He's smart enough. He won't do that. But I expect to hear something about this soon.
Cocky ass.
The jury member knew Miss Happ, this last witness.
Thank you. You may
will
recall 20 CR 1358 People versus Letecia Stauch record should reflect the jury has returned to the courtroom. When we took our break, we were in the midst of the direct examination of Ms. Bell. That's where we will resume.
There's a figure. Let me jump back. She happens to stretch just her middle finger on her fucking jawline. Look at this.
Midst of the direct examination of Ms. Bell. That's where we will resume.
Boink. You pathetic, funky ass fuck. Multiple times she did it.
In the midst of the direct examination of Ms. Bell, that's where we will resume.
Boink.
So, Ms. Bell, we still have People's Exhibit 380 up
Hey,
on
Ashley.
the TV screen. With regards to these placards, A, B,
There it
and
is
C
again.
that you
There it is
just pointed
again.
out. With regards to these placards,
here's my
A, B,
middle
and
finger.
C
Fuck
that you just pointed
you.
out prior to the break,
Woohoo.
are they in direction from the door to where there are looks like some 2x4s on the ground
Oh
there?
my God.
So if you're referring to the lower left corner of
Oh, she does it with her other hand. Oh God. Oh my God. Yo, look at her. You can't try to play it off like you were picking a boogie woogie or nothing. Dude.
Was Exhibit 380 up on the TV screen?
They
with
removed
regards
her
to these
swivel chair,
placards,
Catherine.
A, B, and
Boink,
C that you just
boink,
pointed out prior to
boink.
the break. Are they in direction
ask
from
you
the
a
door
question.
to where there are looks like some 2x4s on the ground there?
Whew.
So if you're referring
this
to the
hand.
lower left corner of the photograph, yes, there are some long 2x4s in that area of the garage.
You sad, sad sack of shit. I can't. Those fingers smell like shit, and you know it, and I know it.
Examination of Ms. Bell, that's where we will resume.
She double
So, Ms.
fingered.
Bell, we still have People's Exhibit 380 up on the TV screen. With regards to these placards, A, B, and
Oh,
C that you
man.
just pointed out prior to
Gonna
the
break
break,
out with that much oil.
are they in direction from the door to where there are some, looks like some 2x4s on the ground there?
So if you're referring to the lower left corner of the photograph, yes, there are some long 2x4s in that area of the garage.
And when we looked at the picture of the entire garage, is that a space where a vehicle may be parked?
Typically, it appears to be where you pull a vehicle in, yes.
Educated, expert.
Now, also on People's Exhibit 380, do you see any softball equipment in there or items related to softball?
I just had to
If
stretch
we
my
look
finger.
to where the stairs are, there's a blue bucket over on the right hand side of that photograph. There appears to be yellow softballs inside that blue bucket.
Oh, yeah.
And on the left side of the photograph,
Let me just
there
stretch this
appears
one.
to
There we
be
go.
Wait for this camera to be
some
turned
kind of
on.
bag.
What was that? A chin touch? Look at her doing stretches. What is this? A chin touch? Look what she does.
And on the left side of the
With this one,
photograph, there
boink.
appears to be
Tisha, what you doing there, girl? It shows how little fucking control she has over her impulsivity. Oh my goodness.
There's a blue bucket over on the right hand side of that photograph. There appears to be yellow softballs inside that blue bucket.
And on the left side of the photograph, there appears to be
Wait for this camera to be
some
turned
kind of
on.
bag that says
Just a second
Easton
now.
or
Tisha, don't act like you're stretching
Yes,
that wrist.
on the left side of the photograph on top of the green box.
Don't lose Tisha. We
Go
need
now
a
to
close up of
381,
Tisha,
please.
sir.
What do we see in 381?
People's Exhibit 381
got a
is actually
big
a
old
photograph
pimple at
taken
every
standing
spot she
inside the
touched.
laundry room, so we can see the tile floor, looking down at the stairs. And in the center of the photograph, we can see that sticker scale that I mentioned previously, and that was the placard A, so the possible blood stains that were observed there.
And just so Christian Luer just testified, he processed this garage on February 3rd.
Yeah,
Obviously,
right.
you did this on January 29th.
I'm going to keep an eye on her. Sorry.
Yeah,
Did you do,
good idea.
the
She's
blue
flipping the finger
star
right
in the
now.
garage
The
at that
pictures will have
time,
to
or
wait.
did you note this blood just from your naked eye?
So this was visible blood, so it was documented because we could see it without any type of
Tisha,
chemical processing.
I see your
And
finger.
when I responded, I did not do or use Blue Star in the garage.
Tisha,
And so we can go to 382 now.
crime
What do we
scene
see in People's Exhibit
investigator
382?
T. Adams.
People's
A pretty
Exhibit
blonde.
382 is a close-up photograph of the possible blood stains identified using placard A.
Ready to do some more exercise? If you can get out and just show the jury exactly where the blood's located in this particular photograph.
So we can see some dark staining throughout the center area of this photograph. Here, we can also see.
Thank you, Alvin. Good evening, everyone. Also, always so glad to see you live, Melissa. Thank you for all your sass. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much. That's so appreciated. And I'm happy that you're here too. Happy Friday. We're just watching Tisha flip the finger 80 times.
Some slight discoloration over the left side of it.
Yeah, she's suave.
I know we're going to talk about how you swab these, but why don't we do it with placard A so you can kind of just show the jury what you did to collect this blood so that it could be tested
So
at a later time.
So to collect a sample of any biological fluid, we have a package that is sealed of 2 sterile cotton tip swabs. So that's opened at the time that we're ready to collect the sample.
There we go again. Watch. She's making the switcheroo. And she puts that pointer down. Well, she pulls the middle finger down. And she disguises it as a mustache. Okay? Look what she's doing.
Swabs.
Right there.
So that's opened at the time that we're ready to collect the sample. We
go.
open a new package of
Here's my middle
distilled water
finger.
and then just dampen the 2 cotton tip swabs, and then those were both rubbed at the
Looking
same
at the
time
jury.
over the stains, and then placed back into that packaging
yeah,
and
that's
sealed
countless.
into something we call a coin envelope. So it's a smaller envelope.
And did you use three
Ew,
separate
don't sniff
separate
that.
swabs
Look
for
at her.
both
The finger is
A,
up.
B,
Look.
and C placards?
Yes, they did.
And they're separated when you package them?
Correct. So when we place them in those individual coin envelopes,
Debbie.
those are sealed separately from each other.
Ew, I hate her.
And then the big envelope is sealed, and then whoever gets into that envelope would have to sign something to know that
Look,
someone's been
finger
in
up.
there. Is that how it works?
Correct. So when we create an evidence barcode label, and I believe in this case, all
Middle
three of
finger.
those swabs were placed in a larger envelope under the same evidence barcode and sealed by the crime scene investigator. And then any subsequent testing that occurs on evidence within that package, the evidence item or the packaging is noted, and then additional tape seals are added and signed by that analyst when the analysis is completed.
And Your Honor, for the record, the swabs
She's
from
very aware of
placards
her hand.
A, B, and C is item or People's Exhibit 386.
All right.
We can go down to 383, please. What do we see in People's Exhibit 383?
People's Exhibit 383, is a little bit of a different perspective, a little closer, where we can see, again, the two sticker scales that were on the garage floor. We're close to those 2x4s that were previously mentioned.
384?
Oh my God.
my goodness.
Oh my
People's
God.
Exhibit 380.
Oh my God. Oh my God. She did a full 360 over and over with that finger. Dude, look at that right there. Right there. New phone, who dis? Look at that. She is, I don't know if she did this intentionally to try to play it off like she doesn't have impulsivity control. I don't know. But I can't stand her.
We're close to those 2x4s that were previously mentioned.
384?
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
People's Exhibit 384 is now a close-up photograph of the possible blood stains identified
You
using placard
idiot.
B.
Did you point those out?
I think
Well,
we're
the
about to
jurors
have
are also that way. Tori. Marlu, I'm sorry.
So in this photograph, it's really concentrated toward the center, but the discoloration is in this general area and then extended into the upper left portion of the photograph.
And is that the area you swabbed then that we talked about earlier?
Yes, that would be the area that representative samples were collected.
385, you could probably stay there for this one. What do we see in 385?
People's Exhibit 385 is
Yep,
now a
stars
close-up
line.
of the stains
Here we go again.
identified
Again.
using placard C.
Ready?
And I will
3,
point those
2,
out again.
There it is, there it is, there it is.
Just directly above
Oh, Tisha, you dumb
the
dumb.
actual sticker scale, and then a little higher toward the center of the photograph.
Now, are these particular more visible? These blood, are they droplets or what are they?
So these appear to be more consistent with possible transfer stains to me, but these are a little bit more visible in this particular photograph than what we saw in B. If we look at the photograph, there's different photographs at different angles of B and C, and B is a little more visible
Oh, let me
in a
go stretch
different
this
angle,
middle
and that
finger
just has
again.
more to do with the flash that occurred when that photograph was taken.
What's a transfer stain?
Oh my
The
God, look
action
at
is
her.
all
Transfer
on the
stain
table
is
there.
when blood is deposited on a surface from another surface.
Kind of speaks for
What are you
itself, right?
shaking your head for?
It's just transferred onto an object.
You can resume your seat. Thank you. If we can have 387 now,
finger.
please.
Tisha.
What do we see in People's Exhibit 387?
The jury.
People's Exhibit 387 is a photograph that was
Christina.
taken in the backyard on the east side of the house. And of significance in the backyard is the trash dumpster, so we can see the green in the center of the photograph.
And were you made aware that these trash cans were searched on January 28th,
Yes, I was.
2020?
Yes.
Let's go to People's Exhibit 388. What do we see in People's Exhibit 388?
People's Exhibit 388 is a photograph taken in the basement, and this area was referred to in most of our reports as the basement living area.
Here comes the bird.
So this particular photograph, I believe in terms of orientation, we're looking southwest in the basement.
Control herself.
In the area that you alluded to, I know we have some other pictures of it where there were potential burn marks on the carpet. Could you just point that out for the jury so they could have some context with this picture?
Yes. I'm going to stand up to do that.
Sure.
So in the upper right corner of the photograph, we have a couch here. And directly in front of that couch was an area rug, and we can actually see that here. And on top of it, in this particular photograph, you can see a section, rectangular section of carpet that matches the rest of the carpet throughout the residence.
She's offering
Thank you.
Jackie.
389.
She's looking at the jury when she does this.
What do we see in 389?
Because they're looking at the
People's
you know,
Exhibit.
even though we're zoomed up on Letecia, if you actually like, this isn't even half the courtroom because they're keeping the jurors out of frame and stuff. So the judge isn't constantly looking at her. He's paying attention to the witness. So is the jury, you know, and they will be made aware though, and Judge Werner will address it. I don't know what day this was, but I guess the following Monday. I don't know if it's the next court day, because it was all over social media.
389 is now standing in that living area portion of the room. So in the lower left corner, we can see that area rug that I had previously mentioned. And then we can also see the corner of the couch that it was in front of, and that's over on the left side of the photograph. In the center of the photograph, so we're looking east toward that love seat chair. There's 3 blankets, and they were kind of in a pile, and those blankets had burned debris on them.
Pay attention to that.
You can go to 390 now. What do we see in 390?
People's Exhibit 390 is a close-up of those blankets that was located on the floor in front of that love seat, and we are able to see some of the charring and burned debris.
391. What do we see
So
in
the
391?
blankets had
People's
charring.
Exhibit 391 is now in the search phase where we're actually looking at the items that were identified. So one of the blankets has been spread out, and we can see that there's a scale in this photograph showing where some dark burned debris is.
And did you spread this blanket out to take this photograph?
Yes,
And did you collect this blanket as evidence?
this blanket was collected, yes.
We can go to 392. What do we see in 392?
People's Exhibit 392 is just a close-up of the previous blanket in the area where we saw that scale of the burned debris.
And did you have any information as to whether or not these blankets were used to put the fire out or help put the fire out?
I don't know that I had specific information how these were related.
393?
I think she thinks she's
What do we
being
see in
subtle.
393?
People's Exhibit 393 is another one of the blankets that was in that pile. And on the left side of the photograph, we can see where it's bunched together and the discoloration. So where there was some black char marks.
We can go to 394.
People's Exhibit 394 is a photograph of the third blanket. We can see that there's a scale, and that was also very bunched around some burned debris.
And did you collect all these blankets, all 3?
All 3 of them were collected, yes.
We can go to
It is interesting to note that those blankets did have burns and chars when we're trying to figure out the candle incident and what happened and did anything catch fire.
Go to 395 now, please. What do we see in 395?
People's Exhibit 395 is the couch that is located that I had pointed out in the first photograph when we were talking about the living room. So for context, that area where the removed carpet is directly in front of this couch. And on this couch are 3 teal pillows.
Can you also see some what appears to be damage from hot wax, that kind of thing?
Hey,
on this couch?
Joneson.
Yes, so
We were
over
just
in
talking about
the
you
left side of
earlier.
the photograph, which would have been the west portion of the couch, there was some damage consistent with
finger
what appeared to
again.
be wax on the couch, as well as some charring or
There it
scorch
is.
marks.
She thinks she is being subtle. She's not, okay? And I'm just curious to figure out, is she doing it because she really cannot control herself and she's getting her frustration out that way? Or is she doing it with the intention for it to be seen, to lead credence into this I'm switching between alters type of deal, you know, like to help with her? I don't know, because there's no way anyone would think that that is subtle, you know? I know it's deliberate, but the intention behind it, I'm trying to figure out. But it is interesting to note those blankets did have burn, char, soot on them, right? 3 little red, 3 blankets.
And so for the record, we see a remote control there. Is it just next to that remote control in front of it?
It would be in front of and then to the left of that black remote control.
We can go to 396, please. What do we see in 396?
People's Exhibit 396 is looking toward the southwest corner of the living room. So just for context, we can see the TV in the upper left, and the couch, for reference, would be over on the right side of the photograph. And there's an additional teal pillow in that corner on the floor.
397?
That's the hang loose sign, but her thumb's extended.
People's Exhibit 397 is more of a mid-range photograph, but we've actually turned that pillow over. And in the center of the photograph, it's actually going to be in the right corner of the pillow.
There's
there was more of that kind of burned, charred material.
So even the pillow, guys, even the pillow, that's very interesting to me. Even the pillow had some burn and char mark on it. Because when it comes to the candle incident, and I think it's her who testifies, I remember it, her. I don't think the carpet caught fire. The carpet was fire retardant, and it would have taken a very high source of heat for an extended period of time to create those burns. But clearly there was flames. So what did she catch on fire?
Is that what you're talking about as we see in 398?
So 398 is a close-up with a scale. And yes, you can better see some of that burned material.
And did you collect this item as evidence? This
yes,
pillow?
This pillow was collected.
And for the record, Your Honor, that's 399, People's Exhibit 399. We can go to 400 now.
Middle finger.
What do we see in People's Exhibit 400?
People's Exhibit 400 is actually being positioned against the west wall in the living room. So the couch, for reference, is what's on the left, and that love seat is over on the right. In the lower right-hand corner, we can see some of those blankets we talked about previously.
So many gems.
But in the back center of this photograph, we can see an open door where we see boxes and bins, and that was a basement storage unit.
And can we see the staircase there to the left of that in the center of the picture, but it would go off to the left to go upstairs?
Yes, you can slightly see the banister or the hand railing, and that would be the staircase that leads to the upper level.
And so as you look at that storage room, if you go to the right, would that be where Gannon's room was?
Yes, so there is a hallway behind that wall, and his door was over to the right and actually shared a wall with the storage room.
We can go to People's Exhibit 401.
Thank you, Sherry.
What do we see in People's Exhibit 401?
People's Exhibit 401, we've now moved close to the entry to the storage room. So again, we can see the boxes and bins and then the concrete floor. And then, as mentioned previously, there's a short hallway on the right side. So the door to Gannon's bedroom would be over on the right.
Little red. Interesting.
What do we see? 402.
The same sign's coming up.
People's Exhibit 402 is a photograph that's taken standing in the entry to the basement storage room. So the bins and boxes previously mentioned. In this photograph, we're actually looking toward the southeast corner, and an item of interest that was observed in the southeast corner, which we can see in the center of the photograph, is a small section of carpet.
Exactly.
With regards to the boxes that we see in People's Exhibit 402, is that what it looked like on January 29th, 2020?
These appear to be the original overall photographs. So that's the series of photographs that we take prior to doing anything on scene. So this would be the condition of the storage room when we arrived.
We can go to People's Exhibit 403.
Yeah, but the carpet was more than singed. It was burned down
What
to
do we
the
see in People's
cement,
Exhibit 403?
People's Exhibit 403 is now standing inside that storage room. And on the left side, we can see the furnace, and toward the center, we can see the water heater. Those were actually positioned on the same wall, which would be the west wall as the entry into the storage room.
People's Exhibit 404. What do we see in People's Exhibit 404?
People's Exhibit 404 is just slightly rotated to the right from that previous photo and down so that we can see the concrete floor. If it helps for reference in terms of from the previous photo, that bottle of Gain in the previous photo, if you go back one.
We're at 403 now.
So it's shifted slightly to the right and down.
And go back to 404. Now in People's Exhibit 404, there seems to be a box there at the low.
Thank you, Lena. Lena just gifted a membership. Please make sure to thank her if you just got it. That's so kind. Thank you so, so much.
Lower portion middle there. Do you recognize that box?
I do. So in the lower portion of the photograph, there is a box that has Amazon tape. And if I recall correctly, based on the marker, the writing on it, that was a box that was collected in a following response out to that residence.
Did you go back to the residence on February 21st, 2020?
I did, yes.
And did you go back and completely clean out this entire storage room, look at every item that's in there, look at all the floor for blood?
Yes, so that was the purpose of that following response, was to remove every item from the storage room and inspect it for possible blood stains.
And this is where the box was, at least on January 29th, 2020, when you initially searched that storage room?
Yes, based on the overall photographs, it is.
We'll talk about that box when we get to the February 21st, okay?
Okay.
Don't let me forget it.
Okay.
All right, let's go to, I'm sorry. You ready? Okay, if we can go to 405 now, please. What do we see in People's Exhibit 405?
People's Exhibit 405, we're actually looking at the north wall of the storage room. So for orientation, based on where I'm standing, the entry would actually be back and to my right. And of interest in this particular photograph on the left side is a gun box, the M&P bodyguard. And then also of interest in this photograph, kind of toward the northeast corner, we can see the corner of a red suitcase underneath a box. And then just to the right of that, we can see a small section of carpet again.
Did you do the best you could to take pictures of all the suitcases in the storage room?
So in this series of overall photographs, these are the photographs of all of the items in their position when we arrived. So nothing was moved in order to be able to take better photographs of them at this point.
You may not, I don't know if you recall this or not, but the pink suitcase that we see in the center of the photograph, was that suitcase there on February 21st, 2020, when you went back and searched the entire storage room?
I don't recall offhand without going through those photos and looking closer.
Don't let me forget about that one either.
Okay.
There's another item. I want to refer to a tub there that appears to have cables in it that's on the right-hand side of the photograph in the center there. Do you see that?
I do. So all the way along the right edge, we can see a clear tub that has a purple handle. You can see just the edge of it. So that was another item of interest that was located and collected on a following response on the 21st.
And at least on January 29th, 2020, that's where that tub is when you're out there processing the storage room.
That's correct.
And did that tub later have blood on it?
It had what appeared to be possible blood stains on it when I observed it.
You don't like it when I say blood, right?
Unfortunately, we're not allowed to say that because we can't confirm it. But based on our training and experience, that was the reason it was collected. It appeared consistent with blood stains.
I know,
Chuzzy. That Amazon box earlier as well.
Correct. So there were possible blood stains observed on that box.
Okay. We can now go to People's Exhibit. What are we at? 406, please. What do we see in People's Exhibit 406?
So People's Exhibit 406, we've rotated slightly to the right from the previous photograph. So we're now looking at the southeast corner of the storage room. For reference again, in the lower left-hand corner, we see that red suitcase that I mentioned previously. It's very difficult to see, but just a tiny piece of the carpet in the lower left corner. And the previously mentioned clear tub with the purple handle. And if it helps again with reference, the wall over on the right side is actually the wall that would be shared with Gannon's bedroom.
We can go to 407 now. What do we see in People's Exhibit 407?
So People's Exhibit 407 is at the point where we've started removing some objects from the basement storage room. So we can now see that red suitcase a little bit more clearly, and there are some carpet fibers sitting on top. And then directly behind it, slightly to the right, we can see a larger section of carpet that I had mentioned that was mostly covered in some of those previous overall photographs.
And as you're searching the storage room on January 29th, 2020, as well as February 21st, 2020, did you ever see a large olive green suitcase in the storage room?
I don't recall seeing one.
Did you ever see the suitcase that Gannon's body was recovered in?
No, I did not.
Have you ever seen it under the bridge or at any time?
I've not seen it at all.
If you would have saw that in that time, would you have photographed it as you photographed these suitcases here?
Well, everything was photographed as I observed it during that time. And obviously the suitcase was found sometime later, but I was never shown what that suitcase looked like.
And do we also see the tub that you said had presumptive blood on it in this photograph?
So that clear tub with the purple handles, yes, is over on the right side of the photograph.
We can go to 408 now, please. What do we see in People's Exhibit 408?
People's Exhibit 408 is now a closer photograph of the top of that red suitcase. And toward the back area is actually where we can see some of the carpet fibers and carpet debris.
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, but did you later find some carpet that had been cut to kind of cover that area where the burnt carpet was?
Yes, yes, they did.
Did you eventually collect the carpet that we see in People's Exhibit 408?
Yes, so during the search portion of this storage room, that section of carpet was actually pulled out of that room and opened.
And just point for the jury where the carpet is in this photograph, just so we all know where it's at.
So your red suitcase, and then kind of the carpet fibers and debris toward the back. And then the large folded section of carpet is directly behind it in the center of the photograph up top.
Great, thank you. We can go to 409 now, please. What do we see in 409?
People's Exhibit 409 is a close-up so that you can better see some of the carpet debris and carpet fibers on top of that suitcase. And then to the right side, we can see a part of that carpet.
410?
Lisa, yes. Oh, wow.
What do we see in People's Exhibit 410?
People's Exhibit 410 is when that section of carpet was pulled out of the storage room. It had been rolled and folded. And when I opened the fold, concealed inside was a smaller piece of carpet that had possible blood stains on it.
And can you point that out for the jury just so we can distinguish between the small piece and the large piece?
So the large portion of the carpet was this entire section. And then the small section concealed inside, right in the center where we can see some very visible staining.
Can we go to 412 now, please? What do we see in 412?
People's Exhibit 412 is a close-up photograph of the possible blood stains observed on that smaller piece of carpet. And then we do have a scale in the photograph.
And you collected the smaller piece of carpet, I take it?
Both sections of carpet were collected, yes.
And the small piece of carpet, Your Honor, would be People's Exhibit 413. The large piece is People's Exhibit 711.
All right.
We can go to 414 now. What do we see in 414?
People's Exhibit 412.
412, right.
It's helpful to have these photos up here. People's Exhibit 412 is that smaller section of carpet that we just saw the photographs of with the visible stains. It's now been turned over. And what's of note in this photograph is that we can see some additional stains on the top surface in the lower right corner and in the center, and that the actual entire section of carpet is discolored in comparison to the rest of the carpet underneath.
And could you tell whether or not looking at these stains on either side, what kind of stain it is? You alluded to transfer stains when we were in the garage.
Not necessarily, at least on the upper side of the carpet, due to the texture of the carpet. Looking on the other side, the fact that it's gone through, typically we might call something like that a saturation stain, where it has actually gone through the carpet.
Okay, so that answers the question, and I knew that she was going to get to that, hence why I waited. Because I saw Wendy ask, did the blood on this piece of carpet in the storage room come from transfer off the suitcase, or was it the carpet she cut from the floor, and that's why she cut it instead of trying to clean it? This is a saturation. So not appearing to be a transfer, like it wiped up against, because it seeped all the way through. But thank you so much, Christina, for that membership. Congratulations. Whoever got it, please make sure to thank Christina. That is so kind. So awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. So yeah, what the hell happened? Hi, Valerie. What happened? Hi, Lily's Corner. During this candle incident. What happened?
So is that what we're talking about as we see in 411?
Yes.
So that's more of a saturated stain?
Potentially. It's difficult to say, but it is consistent with some type of transfer or saturation stain.
Now we can jump ahead to 414. What do we see in 414?
People's Exhibit 414. So this large section of carpet that I removed that had the smaller one with the visible stains, when I opened that entire section of carpet, there were two corners that had been cut off and were missing. This People's Exhibit 414 shows a section of carpet. So when we go back into the living room, and I had mentioned that there was a section of carpet placed over the area that had been cut out. This is showing that section of carpet that had been in the living room and showing the visible seams appearing to match as if that section of carpet had been cut off this larger one.
Going back to the red suitcase with carpet fibers on it, the carpet's found right next to that?
Yes, so that's that very big folded one. That's that piece of carpet.
Would it be consistent with someone cutting the carpet over the suitcase in the storage room?
I don't know where it would have been cut, but having the carpet fibers on top of the suitcase just indicates to me that that carpet had been moved or manipulated.
Okay. We can go to 415 now. What do we see in People's Exhibit 415?
So People's Exhibit 415, we are now seeing that area in the basement living room in front of the couch. So for reference, the couch is in the upper right-hand corner. You can see the remote and those burn marks on the couch that we had talked about previously. We can see a patch of carpet has been cut out in a square or rectangle. And then we can see the black padding underneath. And it might be difficult to tell in this photograph, but the shape and characteristics were pretty consistent and appeared to be burn and char marks in that padding.
416?
People's Exhibit 416 shows a patch of carpet covering that. In the right side of the photograph, we can see that area rug we talked about previously as well that's been pulled back. So when we arrived, that area rug was in place as if it would be normally on the floor. And when it was pulled back, this is what we observed, was this extra piece of carpet placed on top of that cutout. And that previous one showing the cutout corner that was matched with the seams is this piece of carpet.
We can go back to 416, please. 415. And people that did the 415, what was your understanding on how this fire started that we see the results from in 415?
The information that I was provided was that while Gannon was playing video games on the 26th, he knocked over a candle and somehow that caused the fire.
Is that consistent with your training, your everyday knowledge, a candle falling on the carpet, burning right through the carpet, through the pad, all the way to the concrete?
That's not what I would expect to see, no.
Why is that?
I wouldn't expect a lot of carpet and materials are made to be more burn resistant. So you could hold a lighter to carpet and it's not instantaneously going to burst into flames. We've also had training with our local fire department where we've actually done that exercise, laid carpet out, held a lighter or a torch, trying to set it on fire, and then doing that with different ignitable fluids to see how long it would take to actually set and burst into flames.
Would it take a significant amount of heat to create that charl mark?
It would, and it would have to be a sustained heat. So not just a quick without some type of.
So I told you guys, it would take a significant amount of heat, not a fucking candle knocking over, for a significant amount of time on it for it to do this type of damage. And she's done training and practice where they sit there, use a torch, use a lighter to try to ignite a carpet, and it won't work like that.
A significant amount of heat to create that charl mark.
It would, and it would have to be a sustained heat. So not just a quick without some type of ignitable source.
Now, with regards to this area, the jury's heard about Blue Star, so we don't need to get into that, but did you Blue Star this area to see whether or not there's areas that you needed to swap?
Yes. So on that first response, because this is the area of the primary disturbance and things out of the ordinary, that's the room they requested I do Blue Star in, and it was done in this area, yes.
And did you swab that area based on the results of your Blue Star?
There were swabs collected from a few areas in the living room, yes, based on a presumptive positive.
Can you point out the general area where you swabbed?
I remember correctly, the area on the carpet that I had a presumptive positive reaction was in this section, which would be the lower left portion of that cutout square.
And same process as you did in the garage, sealed, so others could test that swab at a later time?
That's correct, yes.
Now, before we leave the January 29th search, did you also go into Gannon's room on the 29th?
Yes, we did.
Did you smell anything when you went into Gannon's room?
So as a part of the walkthrough with one of the detectives who had been there the previous day on the 28th, he had mentioned an unusual, and that's how it was described to me, an unusual odor in Gannon's bedroom near the center and an unusual odor near the light switch. So I did detect an odor in the room, but it wasn't one necessarily that I could place. I couldn't characterize it as something that was familiar to me as traditional bleach or cleaning products. Also of note was that there was odor of urine, so pet urine throughout the basement, including in there.
Wow.
And did you know they had a couple dogs that lived in the house as well?
I did. I don't know if it showed the photographs, but in the area next to the basement living room along the south wall, there were 2 dog crates and there were actually dogs in them at the time that I was there.
And so in between January 29th and February 21st, had other members of your lab, the Metro Crime Lab, gone out to search this residence?
Yes.
Had you gone out there on different occasions as well?
I had been out there a total of 3 times, but I wasn't with each of the CSIs for each time the Metro Crime Lab responded.
And so on the January 29th and February 21st, you did a report based on what you did at that residence?
That's correct.
And others would do reports based on what they did, for instance, on February 3rd or February 5th, that kind of thing?
Yes. So I did respond on February 3rd, but I did not complete a report. CSI Lewer was the primary CSI who responded, and I came to assist. And based on items that were located during that search, we also called an additional CSI Alyssa Beresford, to come out and assist with some documentation. So I assisted both of them, but since I didn't do anything independently of them, I didn't complete a report for that response.
So let's now talk about the 21st, February. What new information did you get with regards to why you needed to go back and search the residence again?
basic information that I was provided was from Sergeant Hubble with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office that he wanted to remove and search all of the objects in the basement storage room for possible bloodstains. And I don't know the specifics to why, but I know that a meeting had occurred prior to my going out that day between the Sheriff's Office and the FBI, and there was some interest in some saws in the garage.
Had there been a board found that may have had some blood on it out in the Palmer Lake area?
Yes. So right before responding, I had also been informed that a particle board had been recovered near Larkspur off Highway 105, I believe it was, and that there were possible blood stains on it. And I was shown a photograph of what was recovered by one of our DNA analysts. And we observed that a corner or a small section of that particle board was missing. And so they also asked that we search the garage to see if that possible corner was in there.
And did you find a possible corner for that particular board?
No, we did not.
And before we move on, Your Honor, 417 is the swabs that were taken from the basement carpet that CSI Brooke testified to earlier. So we can now go to 418. Now we're on February 21st, 2020. What do we see in People's Exhibit 418?
So People's Exhibit 418 is a similar photograph to one we've seen before, just at a later date of the entry to the basement storage room. And we can see it looks significantly different. It's more organized. I can see more of the floor in this photograph.
So someone went through and stacked all the boxes neatly, it looks like, and there were items moved around differently than what they looked like on January 29th.
It certainly appears far more organized than when I saw it the first time, yes.
We can go to 419 now. What do we see in 419?
People's Exhibit 419 is an additional photograph inside that basement storage room. We can see again part of the floor and see that the boxes are a little more organized.
And we see a tub there that appears to have cables in it on the top left corner of that photograph.
That's correct. So that is that tub we've discussed previously, the clear one with the purple handles on top.
420. What do we see in People's Exhibit 420?
People's Exhibit 420 is same angle as the previous shot, just rotated up. So now we can actually see the top portion of that tub that we had mentioned before on the left side of the photograph.
421. Now what do we see in 421?
People's Exhibit 421 is when the tub has been removed and placed in the basement living room so that we can inspect it better with flashlights to search for possible blood stains.
And did you do that?
I did do that, yes.
422. What do we see in 422?
People's Exhibit 422 is a photograph that I actually took during the evidence processing portion. So this was taken, I believe, a few days later in the lab with the evidence barcode label and is an overall photograph of the item.
For the record, People's Exhibit 423 is this plastic tub that we see in People's Exhibit 422.
All right.
424. What do we see in People's Exhibit 424?
People's Exhibit 424 is photograph. These are photographs taken in the lab. And what I've done in these is added the adhesive sticker scales that were used for those blood stains on the garage floor just to highlight them. And these are going to be close-up photographs showing stains that were visible on this tub.
So just to the left of this marker, we see what?
So between the purple handle and the sticker scale, we can see some visible stains consistent with possible blood stains.
425. What do we see in 425?
People's Exhibit 425 is another sticker scale, and this was placed to show the discoloration located at the corner of the tub all the way to the left.
426.
People's Exhibit 426 is that same corner. We've just rotated to the other side. And just based on the change in light, we can actually see that there's some discoloration on both sides of the corner.
427.
People's Exhibit 427 are some visible stains located to the left of the scale underneath the lid.
428.
People's Exhibit 428 is showing a stain on the right side of the tub in this photograph on the lip, the under part of underneath the lid.
429.
People's Exhibit 429 is a close-up. I believe we saw this particular stain. It might have been the first photograph that we showed. It's just a closer photograph.
430.
People's Exhibit 430 is an additional possible blood stain located on the edge after the lid was taken off.
431.
People's Exhibit 431 are some additional possible blood stains that are actually on the lip as well as the underneath portion.
And can you tell what kind of blood stains these are, whether they're transfer or drip?
So these appear consistent with a transfer stain. We can actually see the visible swipe marks that appear vertical on these stains.
And 432.
People's Exhibit 432 appears to me to actually be the same stains as the previous photograph, just pulled back a little bit so you can see more of it.
Now, do you know whether or not this tub actually went to a serologist, Sherry Holes, to do the swabbing and prepare it for DNA testing?
So this item was transferred directly to a DNA analyst. I believe I thought it was Donna Minogue, but if it was Sherry, I would have to double check the chain of custody.
Oh,
But
definitely.
you didn't swab these blood stains.
No, so at the request of our DNA unit, they were photographed and then they wanted to collect the samples for their testing.
Now we can go to 433, please. What do we see in 433?
People's Exhibit 433
These are all the
was
boxes
the
and
cardboard
tubs that were in
box
the
we've
storage
talked
room.
about a couple of times now
They
with the
got
Amazon
transfer
Prime
blood on
tape
it.
and some of the Sharpie marks on it. And inside that box are 2 Apple iPhones. And on 2 sides of this box were stains that appeared to be possible blood stains.
434.
People's
Go ahead.
People's Exhibit 434 is a photograph taken in the lab. So we can see the evidence barcode label that was created. This is an overall photograph, and in the upper left portion of the corner to the left of the Amazon Prime tape, we can see 2 areas of stains.
Your Honor, for the record, 435 is the actual Amazon box that's in evidence.
Okay.
436. What do we see in 436?
People's Exhibit 436 is a close-up of those 2 stains mentioned previously to the left of the Amazon tape.
Hi,
And
Hannah.
would these be transfer stains or some other
Welcome.
type of stain?
They appear consistent based on some of the movement to be a transfer stain.
437.
Get your hair out of your mouth,
What do we
Tisha.
see in 437?
People's Exhibit 437 is an even closer photograph of the lower stain to the left of the Amazon tape.
And People's Exhibit 438.
People's Exhibit 438 is actually the opposite side of the Amazon box and was some visible possible blood stains located there.
Transfer stain?
It appears consistent with a transfer stain with that movement and kind of flickering effect that we see.
So if this is in fact blood, would that be consistent with a bloody object rubbing against the box?
Yes, it would.
People 439? What do we see in People's Exhibit 439 now?
People's Exhibit 439 is inside that basement storage room. We can see the concrete floor and we can see Sharpie marks on the floor. So after all of the items had been taken out of the storage room, we did do Blue Star on the basement, and then the areas with the presumptive positive reaction were actually circled with Sharpies.
And did you photograph the Blue Star in the basement?
So there was an attempt made and we had a bit of a camera malfunction. And when that started happening, that's actually when I decided to go ahead and circle the areas where we had that reaction. The reaction was observed by 4 individuals, but that way we could have a visual of the areas that had that presumptive positive blue glow.
440? What do we see in 440?
People's Exhibit 440 is again a photograph of the floor of the basement storage room where we can see the circled Sharpie marks. We can actually still see some of the spray from the liquid Blue Star as well. But for point of reference, in the upper left corner, we can see kind of the 2x4. So that's actually where the entry was. So this actually spanned across the storage room to the northeast corner, kind of where a sump pump was located.
Could you use the pointer again and just kind of point out where the circles are? I don't know, maybe we can, I need to go over there and turn the lights down on that switch.
It's up to you. It's the green
mood
buttons
lighting.
there.
Which one?
Both of them.
That
Somebody
helps.
keep an eye on Letecia.
Can you point out the
Keep your lights
circles
off.
now on the,
So entry is going to be over here in the upper left, and we can see the furnace back here. So we have areas circled here spanning across the entire photograph, all the way over to the lower right corner of the photograph.
now, does that go towards where we saw that clear tub that you collected with the purple handles on January 29th, 2020?
From what I recall, it spanned again to the northeast corner, which is kind of toward the corner for reference where the red suitcase and that large carpet roll was. I would have to see another photograph to remember where that tub was on that at that time.
Okay. Let's go to 441, then we'll go back to that photograph, okay?
I think we're almost done.
What do we see in 441?
People's Exhibit 441 is actually a photograph to where we're seeing the northeast corner. So we can see the sump pump back in the upper right-hand corner. And we have the same area where we can see the Sharpie circles going into that corner, and you can actually still see some of the liquid spray marks around them.
We can go back to 407 now, please.
And if you could find a reasonable breaking point in the next couple of minutes, please.
Yep, we're going to finish up with this and
Thought that was it.
okay, we have 407 up now. There's the red suitcase that you alluded to. Do you see the tub there?
Yes. So based on seeing this photograph and the proximity of the tub to that area, yes. So those did go in that general direction. That sump pump I had mentioned is actually just to the left behind.
I think she was honest about the one thing where these houses they had additional carpet left in them for purposes like this. And she actually bounced back and forth between the carpet was there and he brought the carpet. But these are new houses and they were left with additional carpet
behind all of those boxes.
Hey, B. Brady.
Those are my questions, John. Thanks.
Okay.
All right, cross exam.
I like cross. No. Ms. Bell, I'm going to have you step down, and because I have some things that I need to attend to, so I'll have you step down. You'll have to come back.
So wait, let me see what Fellini said.
Ms. Bell, I'm going to have you. No. Ms. I like cross. No.
What did he say? Can I possibly what? And Judge Werner's a badass and says, no. Can I possibly what?
I like cross. No. Ms. Bell, I'm going to have you step down, and because I have some things that I need to attend to, so I'll have you step down. You'll have to come back on Monday.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we'll see you back on Monday at 9 o'clock.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am.
Tell you.
I'll go through you've probably already guessed that there's been some public or media interest in this case. There could be more in the coming weeks. You must guard against that, as you will be required to decide this case based on in avoiding analysis regarding or communication and radio networking. We have, as you know, we're referring to all of the jurors by numbers, and you guys are probably going crazy because your numbers keep changing. Every time you come back,
He's just speaking to the jurors. Okay, but I want to hear the argument.
Have left the courtroom.
She was looking the same place.
If we did our work right, I have the right juror. If we didn't, I apologize. I think you probably know why you might be here. Are you the juror that communicated to Mr. Combs that you knew one of the witnesses? Okay. You probably feel a little weird with everybody staring at you right now. but you did the right
Look at
thing.
Tisha's middle finger.
Okay. This happens. Okay. It's really not that uncommon that somebody looks through the witness list and goes, I don't know any of these people. They don't recognize names. Names sometimes change. Sometimes they just don't remember the name. And then they see the face and they remember the person. And they do the right thing. They tell us that they know one of the witnesses. So who is it that you know and how is it that you know that person?
So I know the expert witness, Stephanie Happ, I think was her last name, distantly.
Okay. How is it that you know her?
So about 3 years ago, I was a worship leader at a church. My dad was the pastor. Stephanie's mother-in-law attended that church. Stephanie did not. Stephanie's mother-in-law is getting up in years and wanted to discuss with my father and I, as her pastoral staff, her wishes for her for her funeral. And she wanted to do that while she was still alive. So about 3 years ago, this person that attended our church gathered my father and mother and I at what turned out to be Stephanie's house, and along with her other children, to discuss her end of life wishes. So for about a couple of hours, we were in that home discussing funeral arrangements. And then we all greeted one another warmly and I left.
Okay.
Then, as it turns out, last October, this same church member of ours had an adult daughter who passed away from stomach cancer. Because I was part of the clergy of this thing, Janice asked me to sing at her daughter's funeral. So I did that. And at that funeral, I saw Stephanie, greeted her, gave her a hug, told her I was very sorry for her loss, and we've gone our separate ways. So those are the 2 times that I have seen and spoken with Stephanie.
Okay. So I have to ask this question. Did you, and I know it's going to sound kind of foolish, but did you or did she mention anything about this case to you during either one of those instances?
Absolutely not.
She said no.
Do you not. Or would you be able to judge her testimony just as you've been able to judge everybody else's testimony in this case?
Absolutely.
Is there anything about the contacts that you've had with her that would make you say, you know, I'm going to believe her because I know her, or I'm going to disbelieve her because I know her, something along those lines?
Sure.
Do you think that you can weigh her testimony just as you would weigh the testimony of any other witness in this case?
I do.
Do you believe that you can still remain fair and impartial? Do you believe you can still remain a fair and impartial juror in this case, even though you've had some contacts with one witness and not others?
I do.
All right. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you back to the jury room. I want you to wait there for a couple of minutes while I talk with the lawyers, and then I will get back to you. Okay. And what you can tell the jurors, if somebody asks, you can tell them that you had a discussion, or we had a discussion here, because you disclosed rightly that you recognized one of the witnesses after you saw them, and we had to ask you about that. Don't tell them who the witness was that you knew. Don't tell them what our conversation was, anything else like that. But at least this way they'll know what the conversation was, and they will know that the right thing to do in a situation like this is to say, hey, I know one of those witnesses, and let us know. Okay? All right. All rise for juror 12, please.
That's awesome. All rise for juror 12. They respect the one just like they respect the...
Juror number 12 has left the courtroom. Are there any challenges to juror number 12 continuing to serve as a juror in this case? Prosecution?
No, Judge. The juror was very conscientious, brought this information to us immediately, it sounds like. Talked about 2 passing interactions that she had with Ms. Happ some years ago, and indicates that she can still be very fair and impartial in this case, and is not going to give her any special deference or anything like that. So I don't think there's any reason from our perspective that she would be challenged for cause.
Defense?
I'm going to move to have her excused for a couple of different reasons. One, I'm not alleging any bad faith or anything on the part of this juror, but it appears it's more than a passing connection. This would sound, at least what I was gathering, it sounded like she was hoping to do end of life planning for mishaps. I thought it was her mother, that there was a couple hour long meeting at the house, that there is a connection with a shared church, a religious connection. Part of the issue is, Your Honor, this is not just a lay or perceiving witness. This is an expert witness whose opinion these jurors are going to have to determine the basis of their opinion and how they value their opinion and so forth. So it's not just whether would give her more credibility. It's also how that she would weigh her expert opinion on this, and it's expert opinion that is key to this case. Ms. Happ has identified the gun in question that she testified about as being the gun that actually killed Gannon Stauch. Furthermore, they're going to have later evidence that is going to put Ms. Stauch's DNA on that gun. And so this is the key connection of all the other, there's everything else is there's a lot of circumstantial. I mean, this is pretty direct tie with Ms. Stauch to the weapon that this witness is saying actually killed Gannon Stauch. So based upon that, I would say it's a little bit different situation because it's an expert and it's her opinion that she's going to be judging, and she does have a relationship with her. Further, Your Honor, I can say that that juror was one of the ones that we had a lot of debate on as far as whether or not to use a peremptory challenge on. It was down, she was our last one. It was her and another juror. Whoever we used our last peremptory on, the choice was between her and that juror. Had we known that she had this kind of connection with this expert witness, we would use a peremptory challenge on her.
She's gone.
We're, I think, more than or close to halfway through this trial. We have 6 alternate jurors on this case. I think that it's a cleaner to excuse her at this time with our things and move one of the alternates on, and that way we can go forward.
All right. I want to think about this over the weekend. I'm also going to review her questionnaire again as well, and also the seating and strike chart to see where we were, or to see how the peremptories shook out. I don't know, since she was not excused, whether that will help me a whole lot, but I want to look at 2 of those things, and then I will make a decision before we start trial on Monday.
Okay.
We'll go from there.
Yeah, we just have one other issue to bring up.
Go ahead.
Are you ready for it now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. It's come to our attention.
Hold on just a
Okay.
second. Please go ahead. Go.
Tisha.
Okay.
Please draw the hand signals.
It's come to our attention that during the, I think mostly the afternoon session of witnesses today, that the defendant has been flipping the bird potentially to witnesses or to our family that are here for Gannon.
Okay. First of all, look, she doesn't have a reaction, but then look at that smug ass eyebrow curl. Okay. She knows what she's done.
Okay.
Until no.
It's come to our attention that during the, I think mostly the afternoon session of witnesses today, that the defendant has been flipping the bird potentially to witnesses or to our family that are here for Gannon. And there have been pictures that have been passed to me during this process. One, it's disrespectful to this court. It's disrespectful to this process. And I would ask the court to admonish her to refrain from acting this way in the future during the pendency of this case.
Judge wants pictures. Give me the pictures, he says.
I've not seen any of that, but on the other hand, the defendant is to my far right. I can see her some on a screen, but I'll just take it as is. Ms. Stauch, what you need to understand is that I can control the conduct of an awful lot of people in the courtroom, including yours. And don't do.
Fuck yeah. Sorry. Fuck yes. If you didn't love Judge Werner before, this is what I love about this man. He doesn't have to raise his voice. He wears a fucking bow tie, but he's about to put you in his fucking place.
Ms. Stauch, what you need to understand is that I can control the conduct of an awful lot of people in the courtroom, including yours. And don't do that. Don't show that kind of, don't be making disrespectful gestures to witnesses, to people, to family members, anything like that. You need to understand that if that continues, I can have you removed and the trial will continue without you. And you will sit in a holding cell in this building. And every time we take a break, I'll bring you back up to ask whether or not you can conform your conduct to what I'm requiring. If you choose to act in a disruptive behavior or disruptive fashion, I'll just have you removed and we'll continue on without you. And then we'll check and see if you want to come back and behave in a respectful manner. So I'll just leave it at that. And we will see where we are on Monday. All right.
Look at it.
Court will be in recess. You can leave, see where we are on Monday. All right. All right. Court will be in recess. You can leave everything here. The only thing that I for sure want to have locked up is the gun and the ammunition. I don't ever leave that out.
Look at her. I was just rolling my fingers. You don't stretch your middle finger and only your middle finger. Come on. What the fuck are you doing now? Your swivel chair is being removed, Miss Ma'am.
The only thing that I for sure want to have locked up is the gun and the ammunition. I don't ever leave that out. So that we need to make sure gets into a locker somewhere or into an evidence closet somewhere. Other than that, we'll see everybody 9 o'clock on Monday morning.
All right.
Oh, I thought the bird was going to come out there right then again. Okay.
Oh my God. And that's not where it ends. It's not where it ends because Werner did not even get into, I will shackle and chain you underneath this desk. So the jurors can't see that you're shackled and chained. But you are, because you can't fucking control yourself. She has no shame, but she's laughing and making comments to her lawyers. But if you look at the lawyers' reaction, they don't even entertain her. You know, they really don't. Even though Cook, as the trial goes on, gets way too close and cozy because she gets smack dab in the middle of them. But we will get there. All right, guys. I hope you have an amazing rest of your Friday night. I don't know if anybody's live. Just keep an eye out for, we got Bendy, we got Allie, we got ATS News, Dietz if she's live. I don't know. Someone's probably live because it's Friday night. But I hope you all have an amazing rest of your night. And I will see you guys tomorrow.